So first of all, I apologize to all of you. And I apologize to all of you because I pride myself on being as accurate as I can be, as credible as I can be. And I was dumb enough, I was naive enough to give this football team the benefit of the doubt, to actually believe that this game yesterday was going to be competitive. I actually gave the Patriots a chance to win that game yesterday against the Saints. And you want to talk about lifeless, gutless, non-competitive football. That was an absolute atrocity what we had to sit through yesterday watching the Patriots and the Saints. That was brutal. Absolutely brutal. This team is now 0-3 at home. No fight, no spirit, no compete. One of the worst teams in football. I don't know if you have them ranked below the Giants. I don't know if you have them ranked below the Carolina Panthers, the Raiders, the Broncos, some other teams that suck in the league. But this team is in the conversation for worst team in football. It's that simple. There's no putting lipstick on this pig. It's been a pig. 1-4 on their way to Vegas this weekend against Josh McDaniels. And then you play Buffalo and Miami. You are staring at best case scenario at a 2-6 record halfway through the season. Deplorable. Outscored 72-3 the last 2 weeks. That's a joke. There's a difference between getting beat and getting embarrassed. This team 2 weeks in a row, straight up embarrassed. It's awful to watch. It's awful to witness this run, quote unquote, over the past year plus, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's been rough. And it's not working anymore. Bill Belichick right now, he's teetering. And this thing is about to go way off the rails. Since the Patriots started the 2019 season at 8-0, since that 8-0 start in 2019, they are 30-35, including 2 playoff losses. 30-35, 5 games below 500 since the 8-0 start in 2019 with the GOAT at quarterback. 30-35. You are what your record is. 30-35 is what Belichick has done since that 8-0 start. And when you look at starts to the season, you give yourself almost no chance. 2-5, 2-4, 1-3, 1-4. Last 4 years. I mean, what are we doing? Tom Curran posted on X yesterday. Not only are you giving your team almost no chance at the beginning of seasons because of those records I just gave you in the last 4, but you want to talk about within games, the last 8, 9, 10 games. Curran posted this. Deficits for the Patriots in 9 of their last 10 games, okay? 17-7 down to the Bills, 13-7 down to the Cardinals, 17-3 down to the Raiders, 22-0 down to the Bengals, 14-7 down to the Dolphins, 7-0 down to the Bills off the opening kickoff. We all remember that. 16-0 down to the Eagles, 17-3 down to Miami, 18-3 down to Dallas. And yesterday, you couldn't even get on the board. You couldn't even score yesterday. And I said the Saints defense is good. And I did not anticipate the Patriots offense doing much yesterday. But they did even less. What, they have like under $160 in total yards? This is a complete disaster. And going into the year, I said this was a litmus test for the Bill Belichick philosophy. And I gave Bill the latitude. I said, hey, maybe he'll prove us all wrong. Maybe Belichick will prove that he's smarter than the football universe. Maybe Belichick will prove that you can win in 2023, spearheaded by your defense and special teams play, with a quarterback that is average to slightly above average, with average weapons around him. Maybe Bill will tell us that we were all idiots. But this was the ultimate litmus test for him. This was put up or shut up time. And right now, there's a lot of shutting up because this is just not working. It's simply not working. Your offense is awful. We'll get into that in a minute. One of the worst offenses in football. You could argue the worst offense in football. Your defense isn't as good as it was supposed to be. And I'm talking about before Judon and Gonzalez's injury. We thought this defense had the potential to be elite. They were good to very good the first few weeks. But man, oh man, they're not the defense we anticipated. And special teams. Your long snapper can't snap the football consistently. Your kicker can't consistently make field goals. Matthew Slater, who's the leader of this team, who hardly ever makes mistakes, gets 2 flags thrown on him yesterday. What could go wrong is going wrong across the board, top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams, all 3 phases. How's it working out? This was a litmus test. This was going to be Bill Belichick, a parade for his ability to beat everybody at a different kind of football, or it was going to be the indictment of a guy who still believes that you can win games in 2023 as if you are coaching and GMing in 1995. And the year's not over, but I mean, let's be honest here. Even if you go 6-6, you still have to play Buffalo twice. You've got Miami one more time. You've got Kansas City. If you go 6-6, you're now looking at a 7-10 season. Do you think they're going to go 6-6 over the final 12? Is there any indication this team is going to be able to play 500 football the next 12 games to get to 7 wins? Right now, we're staring down the barrel of a 5-win season, 6-win season. This was the bottom of the ocean kind of season that we could ever visualize. I said last week that, hey, this has got to be the worst, right? It can't get worse than what happened in Dallas, can it? It can't get worse, can it? It did. Lifeless yesterday. The team does nothing well. The offense has no answers. They were 1 for 14 on 3rd down yesterday. That's hilarious. That's just hilarious. And we'll get to Mac in a couple of minutes because he looks broken now. The offensive line has been bad. It's been bad from the beginning. It was bad week 1. It was bad week 2, week 3, week 4. It was bad yesterday. It's been bad. This O-line sucks. And I thought, hey, with a little bit of health and a little bit of pride that this offense and this offensive line would be better. I talked about a turnaround a few weeks ago. I mean, they might play somewhat better this weekend against Vegas because Vegas' defense stinks, but I don't even know if they're going to do that. Again, I was naive. I was giving the benefit of the doubt to Belichick and Bill O'Brien to figure this thing out all the way, as much as they could. And that's on me. No longer can I look at Belichick for the 20-plus years that he did great things, and we give him all the credit in the world for that, and the 6 rings, great job, et cetera, et cetera. But we have to look at what this has been since the middle of 2019, and this has been a middling team. They got to the playoffs in 2021 in Mac's rookie year. Mac looked like at least a promising starting quarterback, and all that's gone up in flames. We have to judge this team for what it's been, and this team has been 30-35 since the middle of 2019. Fact. The offensive line. Evan Lazar wrote this at Patriots.com. Patriots allowed a 45.8% pressure rate with Mac Jones in the game, 24 dropbacks, which is the third straight week. Your offensive line has given up a pressure rate of over 43%. Yuck. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. And I'm not excusing Mac. Again, we'll get to him. He looks like he's broken. But it doesn't matter what quarterback you want to put back there. 43% or worse pressure rate in 3 straight weeks. No quarterback is going to survive that, especially when you've played 3 of the best defenses in the league those 3 weeks. What are we expecting? The Pats running backs were stuffed on 5 of their 17 runs. Vidarian Lowe isn't the only one struggling. He allowed a sack, another 4 hurries. Lowe has given up 25 quarterback pressures in 4 starts. This dude is giving up more than 6 pressures a game. Oh, my God. Antonio Mafi playing for the injured Cole Strange, who wasn't good when he played. It could have been due to injury, or it could just be he's an average guard, which we saw last year. That was drafted in the 1st round by Bill Belichick. Antonio Mafi, subbing in for Strange, gave up a team-high 6 pressures. He was benched for Riley Reif, who was supposed to be your right tackle. Reif went in at left guard. Then Reef had to go to right guard because Michael Wenu, who's supposed to be your best offensive lineman, who hasn't been good. Injury, I don't know, but he hasn't been good, and he got re-injured yesterday. Hurt his ankle again, had to leave the game. You had to slide Riley Reef to right guard. So your right tackle, your supposed right tackle, was moved to backup left guard. Then he was moved to right guard because your right guard got hurt again. He had to play left guard because your first round pick from 2 years ago just can't get it done and now isn't healthy. Your backup right tackle, your swing tackle, your backup plan contingency guy, and Calvin Anderson was a healthy scratch. Are we picking up what I'm putting down? It's so bad. The wide receivers still can't consistently get open. Pop Douglas is the only guy that can make a play. He made another play yesterday of 20-plus yards, and then he gets hurt. He goes into concussion protocol and has to sit for the rest of the game. So now you got Juju on one leg, who he got wobbly later on. Devontae Parker still can't get open consistently. And when these guys get open, your broken quarterback can't find them. You can't run the football. Again, they could not run the ball. They're moving it downfield. Ezekiel Elliott gets a carry, loses what, 4 or 5 yards? Boom, done, drive over. Phil Perry on this offense, if you really want to hammer this down and know how truly disgusting this offense has been, here are the Patriots offensive rankings from Phil Perry, okay? Rankings through the 5 weeks. Points per game, last. Yards per game, 26th. Yards per pass attempt, 29th. Yards per rush, 29th. EPA per play, last. Success rate, 30th. EPA dropback, 32nd, last. Dropback success rate, 30th. EPA per rush, last. Rush success rate, 29th. Worst offensive line in football. I would say those numbers, worst offense in football. And that's just the offense. The defense couldn't come up with a red zone stop against the Saints offense. That was one of, if not the worst red zone offenses in football heading into yesterday's game. We talked about it late last week. This was a team that couldn't finish drives. They could finish drives yesterday against this Patriots defense. And I know I'm not just talking field position. I'm talking about when they get into the red zone, the defense could not show up and come up with a stop in the red zone early in this game. Special teams has been a mess. Joe Cardona can't snap the football. You got penalties. You got flags getting thrown all over the place. Your kicker is 4 for 8 on the year. Offense sucks. Defense isn't as good as we hoped it would be. And the special teams aren't good. Other than that, you're feeling great. And the coaching is bad. The coaching is bad, folks. You know, we talk about GM Belichick, but Coach Belichick hasn't done much of a better job in the last, 2-3 years. Let's all be honest about it. This team got outcoached by Mike McCarthy 2 weeks ago. Got outcoached by Dennis Allen yesterday. And I mentioned this on the pod 3 weeks ago, and I got some pushback on X because really that's all that X is about for like 90% of the time, right? People trying to get at you, trying to create engagement. And I got some pushback from the Belichick honks who are just incapable of admitting that Bill Belichick, since the middle of 2019, has not been good. And I talked about how this coach has coached scared. You go back to 2012, the last 11 seasons, this guy has been one of the most conservative, safe coaches in football. He is not risking anything, especially on 4th down. And I said, coach scared, play scared. Results will follow. And there was Belichick again, coaching scared. You can push back all you want. It is what it is. I'm giving you facts. This isn't even opinion. He is literally one of, if not the most conservative head coach in football since 2012, when he had the GOAT, when he had weapons on offense. He still was conservative. And he's not going to change his ways. Yesterday, another prime example of Coach Belichick coaching scared, not putting any confidence in his team, not trying to get the guys going, not trying to provide a spark, just laying over and playing dead. And it happened again yesterday. You get that big play from Pop Douglas that I talked about. You're into Saints territory. Pharaoh Brown misses a block. Shocking. That leads to a 3rd and 11. Jones, with pressure, a guy screaming down his gullet, finds Mike Gesicki for 8 yards. It's a 4th and 3. Your quarterback just made a play. A few plays prior, Pop Douglas just got a chunk play. 4th and 3. At the Saints' 30-yard line. You're down 7-zip. This is a point. You got embarrassed last week. You went conservative early in that game, remember? 3rd and 1 should have been treated as a 2-down territory. Should have gone both times, especially on 4th down and short, to try to continue that drive inside the 10 to score a touchdown and tie it up 7-7 in Dallas and show that you actually have some guts and some balls. Here we are, 4th and 3 from the Saints 30, down 7-zip. An opportunity to get behind your quarterback, an opportunity to get behind your team, an opportunity to show some confidence and try to create something. And you go for a freaking field goal, which is missed by Chad Ryland. 4th and 3 from the Saints 30, and you attempt a field goal that you miss. What's the message to the team? In that moment, what's the message to the team? We're just trying to survive. We're not going for it. We're not being aggressive to try to win these games. We're not trying to send a message to the other team. We're tucking our tail, we're packing it in, and we're hoping for the best. Said it 2 weeks ago, coach scared, play scared. And what was even worse, because that was bad, what was even worse, second drive of the second half, it's 4th and 3. You're down 24-0. You're down 24-0. Second drive of the second half. Again, you have a 4th and 3. This time at the Saints' 40-yard line. You're at the plus 40, down by 24 at home, second drive of the second half. And instead of going for it on 4th and 3, you punt for 27 yards. You're playing field position, down 24-0. 4th and 3 at the plus 40. That's horrendous coaching, folks. Horrendous. Inexcusable. Are you trying to win the game? Are you trying to compete? Or are you just trying to not get blown out by 50 instead of 34? It's brutal. Like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. We're through the first month. We're up to 479 subscribers on YouTube. I appreciate every single one of you who have been invested and supported this show through the first month. We're over 8,000 views. Last week had our first video hit over 1,000 views, and it's all because of you. One-man band, no support from any local brand. It's just me. I can't thank you enough. If you want to take a second and just go down to that thumbs up and give me a like, a little bit of your time means an awful lot to me and an awful lot to trying to build this community. I love you guys. Can't thank you enough. Let's get to the quarterback because he looks like a broken guy, which I'll get into in a minute. But first, I found this very telling. Team Mac is starting to fight back. Henry McKenna of Fox Sports last night got a quote from a source close to Jones. Don't know if it's his girl. Don't know if it's a parent. Don't know if it's a friend. But a source close to Jones told Fox Sports after the game yesterday, quote, "No matter how good of a cook you are, you cannot make garbage taste good. Even if it was not Mac at quarterback, what quarterback would want to play here under these conditions?" Now, it's interesting. What quarterback would want to play here under these conditions? Sounds like that could be coming from a Patriot. Speculation on my part, but listen to how it's phrased. Even if it was not Mac at quarterback, what quarterback would want to play here? If you're outside of the locker room, you would say, what quarterback would want to play there under those conditions? Instead, it's what quarterback would want to play here under these conditions. That sounds like it's coming from somebody inside that locker room. Somebody who's close to Mac inside the organization is saying, who would want to play under these conditions? Who would want to be here with this? That doesn't sound like it's somebody from the outside. And if it is somebody within the organization, if it is somebody within that locker room that's close to Mac, we could be talking about a pretty big problem here that we don't even know about. There could be a lot more under this rock right now. Pay attention to the wording there. And Mac, and he's the people around him are trying to fight back because they know, right? Again, we're not excusing it. We'll get to it. We'll get to the broken QB play. But people around Mac, it's now at the point where you've got to kind of surround him and support him and get behind him. Because the people close to Mac Jones know what the conversation is now. And not only what the conversation is and what it means for Mac right now in this season, but what it could mean for his NFL future. He looks broken. The decision-making is not good. The pick six wasn't good. He did get pressure. Trent Brown was lost. I think his arm was hit on the throw, but it still wasn't a good decision. He's still trying to do too much. His confidence is shot. He doesn't have consistent poise. I mean, he can make some throws. He made 2 or 3 really good throws yesterday under pressure, one of them to Pop. He made a couple of really good throws, but he's just consistently not there. His poise is not there. His mechanics are not there. The decision-making is not there. He looks broken. He simply looks broken. Now, did he wake up a broken quarterback? Did all of a sudden he forget how to play football? This was a guy that was a promising, solid starting quarterback in his rookie season. Was rated as one of the top 100 players within the NFL. Something to build upon. Then you had the disaster of last year, and you have the disaster of this year with the worst offensive line in football. Nobody to consistently throw to. No running game. We've gone through it. Did Mac just wake up that morning in Dallas and say, you know what? I'm broken. I'm done. I'm dead. I'm buried. Or was this the inevitable decline of a young quarterback that has been mishandled by the GM and the head coach? It's all opinion-based, obviously, but I'm going with the latter. I don't think Mac Jones randomly woke up one morning and forgot how to play football. Even if you don't think he's very good, even if you think he's a middle-of-the-pack quarterback, what we have seen is quarterback play that would be ranked as one of the worst in all of the NFL. Even if you thought Mac wasn't as good as others thought he was, you still couldn't see him playing this bad. And the play, again, isn't all on him, but the last 2 weeks he's looked like a broken QB. And the question is why? Why is he a broken quarterback at this point? And I'm going to put a lot more of that on Bill Belichick than Mac Jones. Because I stand by this. I posted last night on X, at Nick C Radio. Follow me if you can. What the 49ers have done around Brock Purdy. What the Dolphins have done around Tua. That's what should have been done around Mac. Immediately, he's behind the 8 ball. So I don't think he woke up and just said, I'm no longer good at the game. I can't do the very basics. The very basics were never questioned about Mac. The question about Mac was he didn't have an elite skill. He didn't have a super strong arm, right? He's not a super athletic kind of guy. He didn't have a physical superpower. That was the question about Mac. There were no questions about whether or not he could process things. There were no questions about his ability to keep his mechanics. There was no question about him and his ability to have some poise. He showed that time and time again. He showed it earlier this year. None of those were questions. Everything is falling apart. And he's a broken quarterback now, and he's doing things that he had never done up until last week against Dallas. It's the inevitable breakdown of the quarterback, the gradual decline, the inevitable crumbling of a promising quarterback from 3 years ago who has not been set up to succeed, who has not been given the tools, the help to play better football, the pressure, the guy's not getting open, the lack of a run game. He loses his mind. He tries to do too much in Dallas, and now he's lost himself, and he's lost within himself. If you blame Mac Jones for everything, and there are still people out there blaming Mac, even yesterday when it was just a complete organizational debacle. All three phases stunk, but somehow people still want to look at Mac. If you want to blame Mac, if you want to give Mac Jones the majority of the blame pie, so to speak, what you're doing is you're excusing Bill Belichick and his ineptitude of building a competitive football team in 2023. Every time you put it all on Mac, you are scapegoating it. Every time you put this on Mac Jones and Mac Jones only, or you say, oh, it's 70-30 Mac, 80-20 Mac, you can't win with a quarterback playing like that. Dallas, again, he stunk. Yesterday, he wasn't good. He looks broken. But if you put all of it on Mac, you are excusing Bill Belichick. And Belichick has not done nearly a good enough job. You have a quarterback on his rookie contract, which is the most valuable asset in all of the league. You look at what teams do when they have quarterbacks on the rookie scaled contract and how they build those offenses and how they supplement that young quarterback, how they support him through and through. And then you look at what Bill's done here. This is the point. You strike when the iron is hot. You have a quarterback on an affordable contract. And what you do, this is simple stuff. This is 101 team building in the NFL in 2023. What you do when you have a quarterback on a rookie scaled contract is you go out and you get that quarterback talent. You invest at the wide receiver position. You go out and you get Tyreek Hill. You sign Deebo Samuel to a contract extension. You draft Brandon Ayuk. You draft Jalen Waddle. You extend George Kittle. You keep Keenan Allen. You keep Mike Williams. You go out and you get a Stephon Diggs. You go out and you draft Jamar Chase and you get T. Higgins. And you keep Joe Mixon. That's what you're supposed to do. Instead, you got Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker. The time when you should spend at least some money for a legit number one receiver, you're pinching pennies and bringing in a guy who's on one leg. There is zero blue chip prospects on this offense. Zero. We thought Ramondre was going to be a top 10 back this year. He's been terrible. And do you trust Belichick with the next quarterback? That's going to be the question if you're Robert Kraft. How in the world, and we'll get into this more tomorrow, how in the world can you trust Belichick with the next guy? Okay, you're in the top 5 and you pick a Caleb Williams or a Drake May. Okay, great. Do you trust this front office? Do you trust Belichick to be the guy to help nurture and develop that quarterback and to surround that quarterback? Because he certainly hasn't done it this year. He didn't do it last year. As a matter of fact, he went against everything. He let Jacoby Myers walk to bring in Juju Smith-Schuster, the one receiver that Mac Jones trusted, the one receiver that could get open, the one receiver that could make big plays. You waved goodbye to him to bring a guy in who's averaging less than 7 yards per catch. Do you trust him with the next quarterback? Do you trust him with $100 million in space? Top to bottom, this is a fail. Period. Bill Belichick has failed. And if there's no dramatic turnaround, and I don't know how you could ever believe that there's going to be this massive turnaround in what we've seen through the first 5 weeks, all of a sudden this offensive line is going to play better. The quarterback is going to revert to what he was going back 2 years ago. All of a sudden, Juju is going to find the fountain of youth, and his second leg is actually going to work for him, and he's going to be able to get open. Devontae Parker is going to become a different guy. Ramondre Stevenson is all of a sudden going to start averaging 5 yards a carry. The defense without Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez, all of a sudden they're going to play like a top upper echelon elite defense. Unless you believe all of that is going to happen, this thing is crashing to the bottom of the earth. Miracles can happen. But I don't know how you look at this team and say, oh yeah, what they have on this roster and the way they've played, I have no idea how you could possibly look at this football team and believe they can go on a 7-5, 8-4 run over the final 12 games and be even an idea as far as possibly sliding into the playoffs. At best, I think you're looking at a 6-6 at best, which again gives you 7-10. Under that, 6-11, 5-12. 5-12 is on the table. It's brutal. Bill Belichick should be accountable for all of this. It is an operational breakdown. It is malpractice when it comes to roster management that goes back for years. Bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. I'm done for today. I had to go and witness that thing yesterday. I paid hundreds of dollars for my wife and I to go to that game yesterday. I left. I was at lot 50 by 4 o'clock. I was out of that stadium by 3:30. A lot of people were gone by halftime. People sitting next to me were gone by the half. Gone. They saw enough. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Don't forget Apple Pod, Spotify, YouTube. Give us that thumbs up. All the likes mean an awful lot to us. Subscribe as well. All you have to do is click on that subscribe button. We're back tomorrow. We'll talk more Patriots. I'll also have some Celtics thoughts. Of course, they opened up their preseason last night. Peyton Pritchard played great. Kristaps Porzingis got me a little tingly in all the right places. We'll talk about the Celtics, but we'll also talk about the Patriots and kind of look down the road here about what's going to happen. And what should happen, what could happen. We'll get into all of that. Until then, be well, be safe, be healthy. Have some fun. It's the Nick Cattle Show.